Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So, Shad and I met actually quite recently and got to talking this year at Staffing World. And it's not often I like to read people's LinkedIn bios, but I think as a preface to our discussion today, this is just about perfect. So, Shad works with a company called Lushin, and they help coach, advise people, leadership training, management training, and sales training. And from his LinkedIn bio, it's I help CEOs, company presidents, business owners in various industries whose companies are growing, have good sales teams and people, but are still frustrated by, and tell me if this sounds familiar, there are people not getting in front of enough new prospects and opportunities. The business is not growing as fast as they would like. Opportunities getting stuck in the pipeline, and they can't accurately predict future sales revenue. Having part of the team overperforming, some of the team underperforming, and the rest stuck in the middle. So I think, Shad, that sort of describes just about everybody in the staffing industry at some point in their career, and probably with the exception of recruiting challenges that people are facing to fill those orders, a lot of people right now. So we're going to talk about the 4 S's of sales leadership.
Welcome, Shad Tidler, like David said, with Lushin, sales management and leadership coaching, and he kind of gave the quick overview, so I'm not going to spend any time on that. Today we're going to be talking about the 4 S's of predictable sales growth. As we talk about some of those challenges he mentioned, there's actually 4 areas we can focus and really help us when it comes to driving sales growth. And at this time of year, here's what I'm hearing from a lot of company leaders is either, hey, we had a great year, especially in the recruiting and staffing world, if you're in that, it's sales isn't a problem, but a lot of times though, I'm talking to leaders and they're saying, well, but we feel like we're still out there, we're missing opportunity. There's still more out there, and we know the market is going to change. It's not going to stay like this forever. So we want to make sure we're prepared in the right way for that time when it changes. So we, it'll become tougher, and we know that, but we're ready for it, and we can still continue to, grow and to flourish from there and keep going on the trajectory we want. I'm hearing that, or I'm hearing, some companies saying we had a tough year. We haven't really, done what we expected in revenue and sales, and we need some help on putting the right pieces in place, building the right house and having the right folks in it to grow. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And so, David, if you could go to the next slide here. Thank you. So some expectations, folks, we go along. I know we got a lot of people on here. We're going to move kind of fast and furious, and here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to just talk in theory today. I'm going to talk about real world stuff, and I want to hear some of your real world items. So I'm going to have some interactive pieces, and I'm going to ask that with the interactive pieces, since we got a lot of folks on here, type stuff in the chat. So I'm going to give you some questions and have you type in the chat. Use the chat to give some feedback, and I'll try and address as much of that as I can. I'm not going to be able to address it all because we got 70 people here on here. We only got a certain amount of time, but I'll try and address some of those and bring real world stuff into it. So I'm going to rely on you to be interactive with me. And if you can, just to test this out, if you can be interactive this afternoon, just type yes in the chat right now. Yes or okay or something like that. Right. So we're going to use that to bring some real world stuff. I'm going to talk through what some of the things that are happening, why it's happening, what's some specific fixes you can put in place in order to help, right? In order to be able to walk away from today with some gold nuggets and go, here's something specific I can do from today. Not just in theory, I know I need to work on this stuff, but here's something I can put into place today that could help. At the end, I am going to share my contact info, and I'm going to share a way that you can reach out to me using a QR code if you would like to talk further. There's no requirement to, but if you say, hey, this was helpful, Shad, I got some additional questions, or I'd like to talk to you more about this and how you help, I'm going to give you a couple ways to reach me, okay? And if you don't want to, no harm, no foul. It doesn't hurt my feelings, folks. Appreciate you just, let me know one way or another. All right, so let's go next slide here, David. Okay, so this, does anybody know what this is a slide of? Anybody? If you do, throw in the chat if you know what this is. All right, and I'll wait to see if anybody comes through on chat.
Shad, it's definitely a class that I avoided in college.
What would that be, David?
Anything that used Greek symbols on the whiteboard.
So folks, this is real quick. This is an actual picture of rocket science. We're not going to be talking rocket science today, folks. We're going to talk about some very simple, basic concepts and some real world stuff. And it's not going to be this whole high level thing. So just keep in mind as we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it to the point to help you through today. All right, so let's go to the next slide here. All right, so here's what we're going to start with. What are your top challenges for structuring your business for continued sales and revenue growth? So I want you to think of, and especially on the sales and revenue side, what are some of the challenges that you've ran into this year or in the past, or you're facing that are keeping you from growing sales and revenue faster? Right? I might hear some things like, not sure if I got the right people in the right seats to be growing. Not sure if we got the right tools. Not sure if we got the right strategy. All right, so type in the chat and let's see what comes through. And David, are you able to see chat responses from people?
Yeah, I can see the Q&A and I can see the chat. So I'll let you know. Okay, folks, what we need to see some people use that Q&A window. So what are your biggest sales challenges? Lack of a strategy. All right, who else? I know you've got sales challenges. You wouldn't be here today if you didn't. Lack of talent in the market.
Lack of talent. Okay, gotcha. Good. Read up a couple more to me there, David. Appreciate it.
Well, there's always the data issue. This year, we received a lot of inquiries, potential business, but don't have the people needed to fulfill. Retaining talent. Prospects bringing staffing in-house versus outsourced. Getting more appointments.
Getting more appointments. Okay,
I was going to say, Shad, personal experience, data integrity, like knowing who to go after and who we're targeting and what we really know about people. Oh, we got more. Salaries going up. Delivery team cannot find enough candidates or good candidates. Hiring in-house staff, the recruiters. Hearing lots of talent issues. Strategic game planning.
Ooh, okay. That's a good one there.
COVID vaccine requirements. We will not get political here.
Thank you. I can't. I'm not going to be able to help you guys solve that one today, folks.
I like this one. Offices not wanting to change with the market.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Offices not wanting to change with the market.
Okay. Got it. All right. So a lot of ones we brought up here today. We're going to touch on some things that can help us. So we're not going to solve everything here today. But goal is to give you a few things and things to think about or to work on or to specifically that you can do that can help you in these things. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So let's think about why are these challenges for you and your people when it comes to growing sales, right? And let's work on that. So if we can to the next slide, Dave, I'm going to start to share some reasons why. All right. So here's the thing as a leader is you got a lot of hats you're wearing. As I talk to, a lot of presidents, owners, CEOs, VPs, managers, leaders of organizations, they're wearing a lot of hats and you spend a lot of your time firefighting each and every day. So you come in, you go, I've got this list. Here's the big things, the big strategies, the big pieces, the big important stuff I'm going to do, get taken care of. And then what happens as soon as you sit down at your desk or, if you're working from home, as soon as, you get in that, you got a ton of email to go through. You got the phone starts ringing. You got this problem coming up, especially in the staffing and recruiting world. It's so tough right now, being able to fulfill orders, right? And you got customers you're trying to manage expectations with and go, hey, we're doing all the right stuff. It's just the market's extremely tough. So you spend a lot of your day firefighting versus working on the strategic, important few things that move your business across. If that's something that you've hit, I want you to just type into the Q&A or the chat, yes, if that's something you face on a daily basis. And we'll talk about a tool that can help with that going forward. You're getting some emphatic yeses. Okay, absolutely. I mean, hey, and it's even gotten worse, as we all know, folks, in the last year and a half, almost 2 years with COVID, it took it up a whole nother level because now it's the lines between personal and professional of working from home and family and professional became blurred, and we all have been on so many webinars and and Zooms and go to meetings, right? And the times you don't have those buffers, right? So that's a big reason that we're seeing that people are struggling to really drive revenue and growth of their business forward. All right, David, let's go to the next one here. All right, and this feeds into time management delegation. None of us were born with a golden manual that said, here's how to best manage time and delegate and be effective at it. Now, some of us have taken some training and coaching, but even then it's hard because the last year and a half just completely blew that up, or blew the doors, or put even more challenges in there. So it makes it hard. And especially, here's the thing, if you're the type of leader that, like, I'm real hands-on, I like to be in control of stuff, I like to really know the pulse, you can't possibly do it in today's environment. You couldn't do it before effectively, you can't do it now. And if you're not willing to let go and delegate and hand off to your people in the right way with the right structure, and give them, here's the goal, but to let them be able to go out and do what they do well, you got your hand on the pulse, you're going to keep firefighting, and you're going to be pulled in a lot of directions, and you're not going to be able to drive the organization forward in the way you want. There's a great phrase attributed to Steve Jobs of Apple, and he said, it makes absolutely no sense to put really great people in place, to hire them and put them in place, and to tell them how to do their job. If you're doing that, where you got your hand on the pulse and you're not delegating, and not delegating in a strong way, and letting your people thrive and letting them grow and take over. And here's the thing, folks, a lot of your people are really smart, and they probably come up with ideas and ways of doing things that you never even thought of. If you're not doing that, you're holding your organization back. There's another great phrase or comment out there, and it's been attributed to Tony Robbins, I think to a few other people, but they say that an organization only grows as fast as its leader. If you're holding on to everything, your organization's not going to grow. So it's only going to grow as fast as you are. And when you're able to set the direction, give people the tools they need, give them the structure they need, and let them go, your organization will grow faster. All right, Dave, let's go to the next one here. All right, rescuing others or your people. So let me explain the concept. Has anybody ever heard of the concept of learned helplessness? Learned helplessness. Let's type yes in the chat if you have. Learned helplessness. Dave, you're going to help me here because I can't see all those. So I'm not sure if people are coming through with the yes or not.
You got it. We've got, right now I only see one learned helplessness. Yes.
Okay. So let me explain the concept here. I'm gonna explain it in this way. Let's imagine you have a child, like you got kids, and you're teaching them to ride a bike, right? So when you teach a child to ride a bike, what do you usually do? Well, you buy the first bike, and you probably put training wheels on it, and you teach them how to go out and how to pedal, but you keep the training wheels on for a period of time. Well, you know that at some point you want to take the training wheels off so they can ride the bike properly, and also their friends don't make fun of them because they still have training wheels. So here's the thing: at some point you're going to have to take the training wheels off, and you're going to have to take your hand off the back of the seat. Maybe first few times they're riding without the training wheels and getting balance, you keep your hand on the back of the seat at first just until they can get balance. You're going to have to take that off for them to learn how to properly ride the bike. If not, they're always going to be looking back and relying on mom or dad or whoever to hold that seat. That's learned helplessness. As leaders, we don't intend to do it, but a lot of times when our people come to us and they're having a problem or a challenge, or they run into something, we want to help them, and we think by helping them, it means we jump in and we take over. Let me show you how I would do it. You know what? I can just do it quickly for you. Or instead of really trying to help them think through the problem and coach them and help them to figure out what exactly is the problem, why it's a problem, what's the impact, what they need to do, and why, and how to do it, by asking questions and coaching them and helping them. As leaders, you jump in and you solve or tell them what to do. Or you go, I'll take over because it's quicker. Well, here's the thing, folks. In that time, it may be quicker in that moment, 5 minutes here, but if you add up all the times you solve the same problems for your people, it's actually taking you longer. You're just looking at that one little instance versus the total, and you're creating that challenge. So here's the thing is, we got to be careful. Are we rescuing people where they know what to do? We've got to just coach them and get them where they can be self-reliant, and then let them go on their way. And it's okay, if they fall down and stumble and scrape up some knees like they would falling off a bike, as long as we help them debrief after and coach them so they learn and apply going forward, right? That's a big one. A lot of leaders, we want to help other people, but we may be actually creating the crutch and enabling them, and that's not helping them, right? Dave, let's move to the next one here. All right, beliefs and records. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say a certain belief that a lot of people have out there, or I'm going to give a certain category. I want to hear things you might have heard from your family, parents, friends, loved ones growing up related to that. And we're going to relate it to beliefs and records and how it restricts us from growing in sales and revenue. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to type in the Q&A. When it came to money growing up, what are things your parents, family, friends, people in authority figure positions in your life told you about money that you, maybe some you still hold on to today, but you remember they said about money, both good and bad? Type in the chat. What are some of those things you heard about money growing up that may have become a belief for you?
Yeah, money doesn't grow on trees.
Mm-hmm.
Money, if you want it, go earn it. You need money to live. I had one from my dad. You can't cut your way to prosperity.
Oh, ooh, that's a good one. I've never actually heard that one. I've been doing this for a while and heard a lot of them. Here's one that I heard from my mom and dealt a mark about talking about money when I was a young kid. You should never ask about it. I remember asking about a neighbor's car that they had bought, and I was outside looking at it. My mom was outside, and I went, I wonder how much that costs. I was like 6 or 7 years old and just kind of getting into cars and reading like Car and Driver and things like that. And I just remember her getting so upset at me. And I was like, why? And she goes, you should never ask what people, pay for things or what it costs. And that put a mark on me as a kid and belief. And when I first got into, sales and growing revenue for companies, et cetera, and like what I'm doing now, I had to fight through that because this belief stuck in the back of my head that I can't ask about money or something bad's going to happen or mom's going to yell at me, even though I knew logically I got to have that conversation because business and sales runs around an exchange of value for goods, and that exchange is usually some sort of a dollar amount. When I had to have that conversation, I won it, or I would shy away from it. Or if the prospect said, oh, we don't really have a budget, I went, okay, I asked. Did a lot of quoting and hoping. Did a lot of, well, I'm gonna throw this number out when I give them the proposal. Let's hope that it all works. Sometimes it did, a lot of times it didn't, right? That was a belief or record that held me back until I started to mitigate that and overcome that. That held me back from growing my business because I would get myself in that situation. So beliefs and records are things we've heard from family, friends, loved ones growing up that even though they may not be logical or they, we may not, say they make sense now, when we get in the situation, that belief record, that emotion takes over, right? So as you're growing your business, for you and your people, you got to look at, are there beliefs getting in the way? We call them sales DNA, things that doesn't mean you won't get to your goals, but it makes it a lot harder, take a lot more time, effort, and energy because you got to fight the belief in your head versus doing what you need to in order to grow. All right, let's go to the next one here, David. Thank you. All right, I am the best, must do everything and must show it syndrome. This goes back to what we talked about with learned helplessness, right? So you are the leader and you've probably built your business or you're a leader of your business and you're one of the top people. And here's one of the things I'll tell you from a management perspective, and you may be aware, maybe not. As a leader, you are constantly being watched. Your people are constantly watched, and they've watched you even more in the last couple of years because there were a lot of unknown times. There were a lot of, what are we going to do here? Maybe some of your businesses, you saw half of your revenue or more drop off overnight. You had to figure your way out. Maybe some of your business took off, but all of your people were watching you because they're like, well, what do? We have the unknown virus and pandemic. How's this going to affect business? How's it going to affect us personally? How do we handle these things? Our kids aren't in school. We got family members we're taking care of. All of this, you're being watched. And here's what a lot of great leaders did is they said, okay, we got this and we'll figure it out. But leaders that struggled sometimes went, well, I've got to be the best and I've got to do everything and show everybody that I'm the best versus being able to delegate to their people. As a leader, you should set the direction for your company. You should set, here's the vision and the mission, what we're going after and the goals, and here's why, and get people enrolled and motivated based on how that helps them. But you got to be able to let go of the reins, folks, and let people help get you there and trust your people And if you're fighting that, I am the best, I got to do everything, I got to show everybody, goes back to what I said again, the statement from Tony Robbins, your organization is only going to grow as fast as you are. If you're holding everything back because everything's got to come through you, every decision, every quote, every whatever it is has to come through you, you're not going to grow. All right. So be careful of that. And that's a reason why a lot of organizations are held back from growing, is because of that. All right, Dave, let's move on to the next one here. Not holding yourself accountable and leading by example. Once again, it kind of goes what I just said there, is you're being watched constantly. So if you're telling your people, it's really important that we grow revenue and business around here, it's really important that we go to the next level, but then you're not making sure that you're getting things done and you're helping drive that forward, and you're not doing actions that show that, they're going to follow what you do, not what you say, right? Whoever's got kids here know that. As you can tell your kids 18 times not to do something, if they see you do it, they're doing what mom or dad did, right? They're going to follow that, right? Even though you say, don't run your head in that wall, it's going to hurt and it's going to bleed. If they see you do it, they're going to do it, right? So you got to make sure, are you holding yourself accountable and leading by example, right? Doesn't mean we always know exactly perfectly how everything's going to work out as a leader, but we have to be going, okay, we're setting the example and we're leading by example and we're holding ourselves accountable. If you're not, you can't complain to somebody and go, well, my team's not accountable. I had a client I worked with in the past when I first started with them. He said, I want you to work on time management with my team. And I said, okay, well, what do you mean? And he goes, my team's always late to everything, and or they'll call last minute and not show up. And I looked at him and I said, do you realize that you've done that to me in the first few times that we've met? And all of a sudden he stopped and he looked back and I go, you're setting the example. You're not holding yourself accountable and you're asking your team to do it. It's not going to happen. Until you change, they won't start to change. All right. So make sure that is another reason why, is if there's got to be a culture of accountability in order to move things ahead. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people hate the big A word, accountability. Well, it's not going to work if a few things are missing in your organization. One, if trust isn't there. And what I mean by that is, if your people don't trust that the accountability pieces, structure, measures are there, if they think that they're there because you don't trust them, or that you're using just to beat them up and play big brother or big sister, accountability won't work. Another way it won't work is if they don't understand how it's helping them get to more of their personal goals and what's driving them. Your people are all motivated for the pool in their backyard, not the one yours, folks. As a leader, if you don't know what the pool in their backyard is, meaning you don't know what that personal goal or driver is for them, the reason they come in and work your company, hit goals, exceed goals, etc. And folks, it ain't for your reasons, it's for theirs. It's just how we're driven as humans, not right or wrong, not good or bad. It's everybody's driven because this is important to me. If you don't know what that is and then help connect, if they hit or exceed company goals, that'll get them more of what they want. If you're not doing that, people will see accountability as a big trap. They'll see it as you putting pressure on them. Not this is a structure and a guidance to help you get there. Not this is a way to make sure that you're getting more of what you want through this way of doing it. All right, Dave, let's go on to the next one here. Thank you. All right, so we talked a lot about these challenges, and I know there were a few others that you brought up. Now we're going to spend the next about 20 minutes or so talking about, well, how can we start to break through? What are some things from a strategic standpoint and from a tactical we can do? We'll actually work through some exercise things here that will help with that. And once again, we're not going to hit everything here, but this is to get started on how do we help you, or what are some things you can tactically walk away from today and do with yourself, with your people, that can help. All right, so let's talk through that. All right, and Dave, let's hit the next slide here. Okay, so we said the title of today was the 4 S's of sales. So let me just go ahead and share with you what those are, and you can see this graphic here on the screen. All right, so for an organization to be strong and to grow, there's 4 major areas we found that have to be in place and worked on and improved, and they're not going to be perfect all the time. There's going to be an evolution because things are constantly changing in the environment that we do business in, as we all know. All right, so this is the 4 S's of sales, and I'm going to bring some context and explain all these and how it works. Number 1, if you see at the top of that circle, the top curve or quarter, that is the strategy. right? From a sales and revenue standpoint, do you have a good, clear strategy that is defined and articulated to your people and written down and aligned with your people? So what do I mean is, are you clear on what the ideal client looks like for your business? The ideal client for new business you're going after? The ideal client for this is business we've gotten retained, right? Are you clear? And are you clear what's the best fit and why? With that, have you developed lists of those potential clients out there that you're working on or your people are working on to get in front of to see if they need your help and services and qualify, make sure they are a great client? So first thing, you got to have clarity of what you're going after, what the ideal is, and what's best for your organization to go after. It's easy to get out there and help a lot of folks right now, but it may not mean that you're the right fit. Maybe what they're asking for isn't the thing that you can do. Maybe it's, hey, they're really good folks and we could help them, but they're just not able to pay, what we need to be profitable to help them. Maybe, it's there's some big cultural differences, but you got to get that clarity. Next thing is, do you have defined company goals, especially from a sales and revenue side? Now, not just a 1 year, but have you thought 3 years, 5 years? What's the end game as a leader, where you're going, and that defined, and a strategy for how to take the steps to get there and what those steps might look like. All right. Within that, do you know how much you're going to need to come from new business, those ideal new clients that you and your people need to bring in each year in order to hit the goals, and how much growth there is from current clients? I've spent a lot of time this year with my clients just working on, and some new clients just working on growing existing, because they're just leaving a ton on the table out there. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. They're just not even getting out there with their clients and having those conversations. They're so focused on new that they're missing. We've already built the trust and relationship back here. How can we help them more instead of having to go get out in front of new and build trust? And that we've already got that to build on. And the last piece in strategy, folks, is alignment. Are your leaders, if you have managers managing your sales, business development, revenue leading teams, and the salespeople all in alignment? So what do I mean there? If you go, hey, our strategy, this is our ideal client, and this is how much new business we need to bring in, these are the markets we're going after, would your sales managers and leaders say the same things to their people? Would their people be able to say the same things? If not, folks, everybody's going to be going in different directions because they're not aligned on what's happening. All right, so that's the strategy piece. Now let's go to bottom structure. From a structure standpoint, this is like the bones of the house. If you go, the strategy is kind of the view and the idea. This is the blueprint and the structure and the bones of the house, right? So do you have a good defined sales process in place that you use and it's effective? So you figured out it's got the right stages in it. Those stages are effective. They're ordered in the right way. And we've documented it, and it's something that's visual, and we've trained to our folks, and we use it as a tool to make sure they're qualifying opportunities and they're accountable to making sure we bring in the right stuff. And we use it as a coaching tool to help them get better with their opportunities. If you don't have that, or if it's not effective, you're going to find you get a lot of ineffective results, or your people just doing what they think is the right thing in the sales process versus actually doing what's needed. Do you have a pipeline where you're tracking your opportunities, and is it aligned with the sales process? For example, if you have a CRM that you're using and it has a pipeline tool, that pipeline should have similar stages to your sales process, and it's able for you to be able to look back and go, these opportunities are qualified because we've done the right things in the sales process, and we can become more predictable in our revenue. More predictable. If we have this much in the pipeline, it should output this much in this time in these dollar amounts. All right. Do you have behavior plans built for your people? So if you go, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson or business development person, here's your goal for the year. We want you to bring in $1 million. Are you able to break it down with them and go, okay, that means here's the activities you need to do in order to get there. This many conversations need to be had, this many meetings, this many new opportunities brought in. We should expect this close rate, and it should happen in this time, and here's the path to reach your goals. A lot of people don't. A lot of salespeople come in and they just onboard them in this way. All right, great. We hired you. You're a great salesperson. Just go do it. Just go out there and just go do it. And the great salespeople who have figured this stuff out, behavior plan and how to track and the right metrics and KPIs, they will go and they'll be naturally great. The ones that won't, Doesn't mean that they couldn't be. It's just they don't have the right tools and structure, and they're not looking to build that, folks. You got to help them set the path and track the right things with them, or else you're leaving them out there. And I've seen too many organizations do this. They don't do that. There's no real sales process, no real behavior plan structure. When they bring people in, they just go out, swim, and sink or swim. And they lose a lot of good people or turn a lot of great people over in sales and business development or because of that. This, I always see this and go, okay, that doesn't make sense, because if you think of that, you would never bring your accounting people in, like the people who run accounting your company, and just go to it. No, you go, no, here's our structures, here's our process, here's the key things we're going to go after, here's timing, we're going to hold accountable to these things, because it's important that we pay the bills we have to pay, and we bring in all the money that we have out there. Same thing with your sales team. All right. Within this also is, do you have a strong hiring process for salespeople? Do you have the right tools, the right criteria, the right process to figure out who's good, who isn't, who's the right fit for your organization, selling in your environment, in your world, the right onboarding plan for them. All right, so from structure, we move to staff. Is on the right side, staff is looking at your current team. Do you know what skills and strengths are there from a sales and sales management side? What's missing? If not, you're probably not knowing where to best help them. Right? You can give them a lot of training and coaching on sales, and different organizations out there can do that, or you can do it internally. But if you're not training on the right things that they need help on, a lot of it's not going to stick, or they're not going to take off. And what do I mean by right things is, do you know who on your team is truly motivated and committed to getting better at selling, and who isn't? Who on your team, what beliefs, like you talked about some of those beliefs and records, what beliefs and records are getting in the way that you need to work through and help them mitigate or get out of the way, or what beliefs and records aren't? Do you know what skills and strengths and tools they have in the toolbox to be able to go out and hunt more business, qualify it, close it, grow it, and what's missing? Your managers and leaders, do you know how effective they are and what tools are there and missing when it comes to coaching their people, holding them accountable, motivating them the right way? If you don't, probably going to have a hard time when it comes to the last set here, which is skills and training those people on the right things so they can get more effective. All right, so these are the 4 big areas of sales, the 4 S's that are important. And strong organizations, when it comes to sales and revenue growth, have the majority of this in place, and they're working to improve it on a regular basis. Folks, this doesn't happen overnight, right? If you've got some challenge with sales and revenue growth, those didn't happen overnight. Change of these doesn't happen overnight, but when you get the right piece in place, especially strategy and structure, and you're working on the right skills with your team, you can continue to build and incrementally grow and get them better in order to get there. All right, so let's keep going, David. Thank you for running the slides here. All right, so here's a key rule. Being responsible is owning the situation and outcome as though you were the cause of it. I want to hear real quick in the Q&A or chat. Dave, if you could read off to me, what does this mean to you personally as a leader? Being responsible is owning the situation outcome as though you were the cause of it. As a leader of your organization, what does that mean? Type in the Q&A or the chat, and David, read off a few for me, please.
Sure. While people are typing in, I'll tell you, Shad, in our organization, the sales leader, you can't blame circumstance. You can't blame the market. One of the things, like in 2020, we saw what we thought was going to happen, which was going to be the severe recession/depression because of the coronavirus. And one of the first things we said to our team is, we can't let the economy be the cause of our future. In other words, don't blame circumstances. And from the management level down to the team, everybody's got to own the situation to drive the results they want to personally drive. And we had a growth year despite a rough economy. Some that are coming in. As a leader, you are accountable for your direct reports' mistakes and for coaching them to avoid a repeat of mistakes. Love that, Janice.
That's a great one, yeah. So one of the things to go off that is, yes, we can't always control what happens to us. Like to your point with COVID, folks, none of us are in control of that. But we can control our response and what we do and take action and stay accountable to. So as a leader, you've got to go, okay, I can't control when COVID happens, when there's an economic shift, when an employee gets in a bad situation or something happens in my life, that affects the business, et cetera. But you can control your response to it and what you do from there. That is always within our control. So you got to be responsible and own the situation as though I was the cause of it. Here's what I've got to do to get us out of it. All right, let's go to the next slide here, David. All right, so here's something else I'm gonna teach you. I said I'd give you a couple of tangible tools here as we walk away as leaders that can help us from today. And then I'll share my contact info on how to get in touch with me. This is what we call the success or the BAT, the BAT triangle. All right, and as probably some of you have guessed, it's pretty obvious here. BAT stands for behavior, attitude, technique. All right, so what does this mean as a leader? Anything you want to improve in your company, your organization, with your people, with yourself, even personally, there are 3 components that are part of anything that we do in life. And one of them is a behavior component. And I'll give some context around these here in a minute. One of them is an attitude component, and one of them is a technique component. All right, so what does behavior mean? Behavior is the actions. It's the goals, the expectations, the actual actions that we take to drive change or to work on something or to improve something or to do something. So behavior in an organization would be, well, what are our goals? And what are the expectations we have from people? What actions do they need to take? And what, how are we going to track those and measure it? Attitude is mindset, right? What's our attitude in any situation? When you're doing that behavior, your people are doing that behavior, working on the actions to those goals, working towards the expectations in those situations, what's the mindset they have? What's the attitude, the beliefs are going in? Is it positive? This action I'm doing, this behavior, I enjoy it. I see the reward it can bring, or is it negative? I don't enjoy it. This sucks. I don't know if I can do this. Should I be doing this? Do I deserve to? That attitude or mindset has a huge effect on everything that we do. And then finally, technique. This is when we're in the behavior, we're doing those goals and actions and expectation. How do we execute it? How do we execute it more efficiently, effectively? That technique, right? So when you start to look at some of the things that are holding you back from a growth standpoint and revenue standpoint we talked about earlier, take a look and start to go, okay, well, of these 3 components, what's working, what isn't? Right? Whenever I coach people and I help them, I'm always thinking from that, is it a behavior thing? Do my people, or do I not understand the goal and the expectation and the actions that need to happen and how we're going to track and measure it? If that's not clear to me as a leader, I can't expect it to be clear to my people who I'm telling to go do it. Is it a technique thing? Right? It's okay, we got clear goals and expectations and behaviors and what we're tracking. We got to get more effective, more efficient when we're actually doing those things. Right? For example, if your people need to cold call, if you go, okay, hey, here's the goal. We're going to bring in this much revenue, which breaks down to every day as the expectation. We need you to go and cold call this many people, right? That's our behavior plan. We're going to track it on a weekly basis. We're going to track these metrics and behaviors. If that's clear, you got to start to look at technique and go, what do they need to do to get in front of more prospects, the ideal prospect? Besides cold calling, should we be networking? Should we be asking for referrals, using LinkedIn and social media? Okay, once we get in front of folks, how do we have a conversation that differentiates us very quickly? We build rapport quickly and they listen to us versus just hanging up or saying not interested or giving us another objection. Let's say we have a conversation with them. How do we get to that next of setting a great meeting and great expectations? That's technique. And then finally, you got to ask, okay, if we've got the behavior and technique dialed in and they're still struggling, is it an attitude or mindset? Are they going, yeah, I know the expectation, how many prospecting attempts or cold calls I need to make and what we're tracking, et cetera, daily. I'm doing it daily. I know the technique, but I just don't believe that anybody wants to talk to me. I just don't believe it works. I don't believe I should interrupt people. Well, if that's the case, folks, your behavior and technique tools just go right out the window. Right? So as a leader, how to use this is to start to look at everything that you want to improve with yourself or your people or your company and go, which component here is missing? All 3 are important, but if one leg's not working well, that triangle will collapse just like any triangle out there. So you got to go and go, what specifically is missing here and what do we need to work on? All right, let's go to the next one here, David. All right, so this is called the 4 Ds of time management. All right, the first one's kind of a 2-parter or twofer. All right, so 3 different things that break up this, and this is key for, we talked about early on staying on task or working on those most important things so we're not firefighting every day. All right, so here's how this works, and I'll be the first to say I didn't come up with this. I've taken some productivity and time management leadership courses. I borrowed this from it, but it's a tool that works very effectively on my personal life, my business life, and with a lot of leaders. All right, so the first 2 Ds are double down and then delete and delegate. Okay, what does double down mean? Here's what I want you to do, and we're gonna do a little exercise around this, get a couple of examples, we'll move on. In your current role, whatever it is, if you're a leader of the company, manager, other role, what are the top three things that you do that bring the most value to your organization? So I want you to just take a minute or two and think about that. Just take a minute and think about that. Top 3 things, only 3 that you do in your role that bring the most value to your organization. I'll give an example. If I'm a salesperson, prospecting and getting in front of new ideal prospects would be number 1 on my list. Number 2 would be qualifying opportunities and closing deals. Number 3 would possibly be growing accounts if that was part of mine, right? Those are my top 3 things, right? So I want you to just think for a minute, and then once you get some of those, throw some in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll have David read off. But top 3 things where you bring the most value to your organization.
So everybody can keep typing in, but we're getting some already. I love John here. Most valuable thing I can do is sign contracts. Going right to the cut to the chase.
John, if you're a salesperson, business development, heck yeah. That's what they brought you in for. I love it. Good. Let's, David, some more come in. Let me know.
I like this response as well. Reviewing financials and sharing with the team for motivation, engagement, improving company morale, client relationship retention.
Okay, that's a very good one. Good. Someone else.
All right. Adding value to existing clients with additional services.
Okay.
Prospect.
And whoever that was there, here's the key is solving more problems for clients. Here's a little quick one for client retention. You want to keep your clients around longer, uncover and solve more problems for them. If you keep solving problems for them, and not problems that you created, but problems that they're experiencing, or because you helped them in one area, now it's created a problem somewhere else. If you keep doing that, your clients will stick around a long time. A lot of our clients leave because they go, well, that's it. That's all you can help me with. And if you just keep doing that, helping them, uncover, solve more problems that you can help with, you'll keep them around a long time. Good, David. Any others have come in here?
Yeah, we've got qualifying prospects. Prospecting, closing deals, growing existing business. And then I love this one, golf lessons.
Okay, so that's your business. Okay, so here's the key, folks, with the double down. Thank you, Dave, for reading off some of those, and people replied. With the double down is those top 3 things you came up with, or if it's 2 or 1, whatever it is, that is where the majority of your time, effort, and energy should be focused every day at your organization. And here's the challenge I bring to you is whatever you wrote down, once you go back over the last couple of weeks and go, how much time did I actually spend in my day doing those things? Because we can say these are the most important things, but are we actually spending the time on that or not? Okay, so that's double down. Now, after you take a look at that, now you got to go, okay, well, what's all the other stuff I got left? It might be required in my position, in what I do in my role, that's got to get done, or maybe doesn't, but it doesn't fit into those top 3. All right, and so that's where the next category comes, and this is usually the hardest for people, but delete. As you look outside those top 3, everything else on your list, right? So you create a list and go, here's all the other stuff I'm doing on a daily, weekly basis, or I have to do for the role. Take a look and go, well, what are some of those things? If we just stop doing them, I just stopped doing them, it just got cut, we don't do anymore, life would go on. The business would run, my people would be okay, my clients would be okay, life would run. Maybe it's a report that you ran that at one point in time was important because you guys are trying to fix something, but now it just keeps getting run, but nobody's even paying attention to it. Maybe there's certain meetings like that, right? But you got to take a realistic look and go, am I spending time just doing things or going to things that bring no value to anyone, not to myself, not to my clients, not to my people, not to my company, to my business, to the marketplace? Whatever it is on that list, stop it now. All right, so that's delete. Third is delegate. Everything else that's left, you got to take a hard look and go, how do I get this off my plate? It's not in those top 3. It's not something I've deleted. It's got to get done. In sales, it's like keeping the CRM updated or reporting on certain things. If you're a sales manager or leader, it might be, certain reports you got to run on the team for the owner, president, CEO. the CEO or an owner or a leader. It might be these certain reports I got to give up to the board or, to another group, VC, whoever it is, right? Or these certain things. You got to take a look and go, should I be doing it, or could I delegate it to somebody in my organization or outsource or automate it? Still has to get done for the business to run, but is that truly the best use of my time? And I would be willing to bet, folks, if you really truly look at that, create a list, look at it, and be honest with yourself, you're going to find a lot of things to delegate. And here's the thing, if you want to really feel the impact of it, look at what's on your list to delegate. Go back over an average week and ask yourself, how many hours do I spend on this task each week? And then if you know your hourly rate, right? So the rate of, what you're truly worth in terms of your, for what the value you bring or you're paid or however you calculate it, take the hours you spend on that activity you can delegate times your hourly rate, and that's what's costing you per month, per year. And did this exercise with one of my clients, a sales leader, and we found 53 days in her calendar she was spending on delegate or delete activities, and was costing millions of dollars a year. Didn't seem like it. She's like, well, it takes me an hour to run this a month, but if you go, well, or I'm sorry, a week. But if you go an hour a week times 4 weeks, that's 4 hours times 12 months, that's 48 hours you spent on this task. What would you do if you had 48 hours, 2 full days back in your calendar? Right? So this is a tool that can help you immensely to stay on task and also help your team and go, are we focused on the right things? If I go, I want my people to be out there selling and growing the business and driving it forward, am I truly helping them stay focused on those activities and spend their time there? Or have we put a lot of stuff in their way that's pulling them away from being able to do more of that? Okay. All right. Let's keep rolling there. Okay. So time and commitment. You got to transform yourself first to transform others in your organization. This is one of my favorite phrases, and it's because I lived in India for a period of time after college. And this is it's been attributed to a lot of people, but one person in particular I've seen it attributed to is Gandhi. It is, in order to be the change you want to see, you got to be the change yourself. I know I butchered it, but be the change you want to see. And so you've got, as a leader, or even whatever position you're in, whether you're in sales or business development or another position, is if you want things to improve in your organization with your role, you've got to transform yourself first in some of these areas. All right, so let's keep going from here. Dave, if we hit next. So here's what I want to hear in the Q&A. What's something you picked up today? What are you going to do differently from today, and why? Just take a minute, put that in the Q&A. What's something you're going to do differently, and why? And Dave, read some of those off. I want to hear some of the feedback of what we got out today that we can put in place.
Sure. While they're coming in, Shad, I'll tell you one that's on my plate, which is how do it help sales members improve capacity? So there are things that slow them down. So can we generate more quality inbound leads? Can we improve using websites, their follow-up to standardize that initial presentation and explaining product or service so they don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again? Can you streamline the contracting process? All of those things that would be administrative tasks or repeated tasks to the sales rep can be created as a more systematic process to give them more capacity. So that's one for us. How about others? What do you guys got to do differently?
David, before we do that, can I just throw one other thought in there to help you with that?
Absolutely.
All those are great, and you hit the nail on the head. If it's your sales team, is time is the one big. It's kind of for all of us, but even for sales, even more. Time's the one big equalizer. Look at your sales process and your sales team skills and go, where could we get more effective that we get decisions faster and easier, or we disqualify prospects that we shouldn't be in front of faster and easier? Absolutely. That's another one that's not always out in front of us, but can have a huge effect on productivity with our team.
I know there was a comment earlier from somebody in the audience that the clients who don't have realistic perceptions, and you've got an opportunity to try to educate them on what's going on in the market, but if they're not willing to buy that, you're wasting your time, because you're never going to fill their job orders in this labor market.
Yep, go find people who are willing to listen and do want your help. Not everybody's going to. But let's get some other ones.
Right now, everybody's being shy, Shad. So what are some, while they're thinking about what they're going to do differently, what are some of the most common things you see people having to change?
Big one first is to own and take responsibility. I'm the cause, like we said earlier, I'm the cause of everything that's happened. I've got to act like that. And when you start to own and take responsibility, a lot of action happens. That's a big one we see. Another big one we see is to first truly understand their sales and revenue organization. Go, okay, what's working, what's there and present in those 4 S's we talked about, what isn't? And evaluating that and going, okay, if we want to grow, instead of just, okay, let's throw some stuff at it and hope we grow, let's actually figure out what's there, what's missing, what's working, what isn't, what our skill sets or people have are missing, what do we need, and build a good plan to go forward. It's I think it was Abe Lincoln who said, if I had to cut down a tree, I'd spend if I had an hour to cut down a tree, I'd spend 55 minutes sharpening my saw. Now I'm not saying you got to plan that much, but spend some time really understanding planning. That way you're working on the right stuff that can help you take off.
Excellent. And right now we do not have any other new additions to the lists.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go next slide. And it's, I think it's going to be kind of similar as what's a big lesson learned. So just type in the chat, real quick, anything we haven't covered, a lesson learned here for today, and then we'll do any Q&A, and then I'll share how to get in touch with me. All right. So let's give a minute here. What's a lesson learned from today?
One here is, start with the strategy and the structure. So often we try to start with people and thinking about, oh, it's a hiring challenge or it's just a training challenge. But if you have the wrong strategy or you have the wrong structure, your sales team is not likely to be successful.
It's a great one. I always say, when somebody's talking to me about potentially helping them hire a salesperson, my first question, if I've never worked with them before, is the bird cage ready for the bird? If the bird cage isn't, you're going to turn over a lot of folks who could actually be the right people and be strong because you weren't ready to support them in the right way.
Another one, accountability and strategy.
Good. Yep, those are key things. So, all right, well, let's keep moving. So thank you everyone for today and for playing along and being proactive. Here's how to reach me really quick. A very simple way. If you want to get in touch with me, hit this QR code, scan it. It'll take you to a page where you fill out your info. All you're saying is, Shad, I want you to reach out here in the next week or so. And just, I'm interested in talking further, just questions I've got, or, I'd like to talk further about how you help people. If you don't do anything, I'm not going to reach out to you, but if you do, I'll get an email and I will reach out to you via phone. And you can also see my info on the other side here. That's my direct line here at the office, or my email address. Also another way to get a hold of me. Always, I know there's usually some questions or people will go, hey, I want to talk further about this. Just give me a couple of ways to get in touch with me if you'd like. All right, so that's all I have today. Thank you very much for playing along. David, I'm going to turn it back over to you and let you guys drive from here as far as wrapping this up.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chad. This was great information and actually, again, personally great timing because I'm in the process of hiring 2 additional sales members for our team and thinking through, once we get the people on board, making sure that they're trained with the right strategy, that we have the right structure in place, and that they have the skills not just to sell, but to use all of the tools that we can provide them, because a lot of companies provide a whole range of great tools, but the sales team isn't really trained how to get the maximum value out of all the tools. It's sort of assumed, well, you know how to use this piece, and that may or may not be the case. So thank you again very much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
For everybody, thank you for being part of today's webinar. A couple of things to wrap up. So many of you may have joined us back in August when we had our 25th birthday party, the Smart Ideas Summit. What you may not know, or if you missed the summit, is all 14 sessions were recorded and are now available on demand. You can see the URL on screen, haleymarketing.com/25bash. Really good lessons. There's some more sales management, operations, tons of marketing advice, all available at that URL. So please take advantage of it. Also, we had a request from our podcasters. So if you're not already listening to us while you're on the treadmill at the gym, take a listen to Secrets of Staffing Success. We have 2 shows, one where we interview people like Shad and business owners in the staffing industry, thought leaders, innovators, and we try to pull out some of their secrets about how they drive growth in sales, recruiting, and their business success. Our second show is called Insights, and that's where our team members share all of their marketing tips and secrets and best practices. And one last thing on the get ideas from us, our newsletter. It's called Big Ideas. If you're not already getting our emails, this is a place to get one email a month, lots of our really most in-depth new content. And you can sign up at haleymarketing.com/big-ideas. And then finally, just to wrap things up, this is our last webinar for 2021. So Shad, thanks for batting cleanup. This was great, great today. Next month, kick off the new year. We're going to be talking digital marketing on January the 13th. Can't believe it's 2022, but our digital team will be providing lessons on the top trends for your digital marketing for sales and recruiting for next year. And then we'll also be announcing some new digital marketing product bundles in a demo on the 19th of January. So from all of us at Haley Marketing, thanks so much for joining in for this webinar today. We want to wish you all the best for a terrific holiday season, a very happy new year, and a great start to 2022. Thank you.